Thank you for joining us at the web-based Municipal Law Recognition Program sponsored by the Oklahoma Association of Municipal Attorneys. That's the OAMA for short. My name is Jeff Bryant. I'm an Associate General Counsel and Director of Legal Services for the Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group, and also currently serve as a board member for the OAMA. One of the missions of the OAMA is to provide those practicing municipal law across the state of Oklahoma with resources to assist in providing sound legal advice to the cities and towns they represent. OAMA's web-based program that provides such information can be found at www.okmunicipalattorneys.org. Now, this segment focuses on how local governments in the state of Oklahoma can be organized. In the state of Oklahoma, there are approximately 600 local governments functioning as cities and towns. The primary governing rules for those cities and towns can be found in Title 11 of the Oklahoma statutes. The articles in that title generally cover the following topics: Incorporation and Consolidation, that's Articles 1 through 7. Organization, that's Articles 8 through 17. Changing status, such as name or form of boundaries of government, that's Articles 18 through 21. Powers, services, buildings and zoning, pensions, and collective bargaining, that's covered in Articles 22 through 55. Now, this presentation primarily will focus on how cities and towns are formed and how they can be organized. A new municipality may be formed as a town if it has less than 1,000 residents. A new municipality can be formed as a city if it has at least 1,000 residents. So the 1,000 residents is the dividing line between city and town. A resident is a person whose actual dwelling or primary residence is located within the corporate limits of the municipality. In this case, since we're planning whether to form a town or city, it's the planned limits of the municipality. A municipality forms its own legal entity and is incorporated under 11 OS Section 2-101 et sec. The general steps of incorporation are outlined in Chapter 2 and include selecting a name, laying out the boundaries by survey or platting, respecting location restrictions in 11 OS Section 2104, creation of wards for representation, input from the Board of County Commissioners or Town Trustees declaring the municipality's formation and filing the declaration with the county clerk in the county where the city or town is to be located, and then also filing with the Secretary of State. Prior to an order declaring the municipality's formation, an election conducted by the County Election Board is required. If the attempt is to create a city, then the proposed statutory form of government will need to be designated. The statutory forms of government for cities and towns are as follows. Towns, with a population of less than 1,000, or a Board of Trustees form of government for cities which were 1,000 or larger population. That's in Article 12. Article 9 governs aldermanic forms of government. Article 10, council manager form of government. And then Article 11, strong mayor council form of government. Once cities have been formed and have a population of at least 2,000 residents, then those cities have an option to form a charter and create their own form of government that best suits their municipality. The charter process can be found in Chapter 13. So let's talk a little bit about the different forms of local government. Some of the key questions resolved by the choice of form of government include: where does the legislative powers and executive powers rest? Legislative powers are enacting laws, setting policies, adopting budgets, and appropriating revenue. Examples of executive powers generally include executing the laws, appointments, supervision and termination of employees and agents, and authority over the day-to-day operation of departments. Also, expenditure of funds that have been previously appropriated. As I mentioned, statutory towns are governed by 11 OS Section 12-101 and those sections that follow in that chapter. The town is governed by a Board of Trustees. The town must have between 3 and 5 wards. A trustee represents one ward but actually may be elected by a plurality with a citywide vote. The mayor is elected from the trustees as the ceremonial head of the town board. The mayor, however, has the same right in this form of government to vote at meetings as other board members. Meetings must be held at least monthly. The town board primarily functions in some legislative as well as some administrative capacities. The town board's powers are set out in Section 12106 and include the following: determine matters of policy, appoint and remove and confirm town staff, enact municipal legislation, establish rates for services, taxes, and other revenue, make appropriations, regulate staff compensation, and regulate all other fiscal affairs. Additionally, a town board has the power to inspect the town treasurer's records. They have the power to investigate or authorize inquiries into areas of municipal affairs. They can create, change, and abolish offices, departments, or agencies other than those that are required by law. And they can assign additional functions and duties. And lastly in the list is a town board in this form of government can actually grant pardons for violation of municipal ordinances. Towns also have a couple of officers that they're required to establish by statute. Town clerk in Section 12109 has statutory clerical duties, but also may perform other duties as determined by the town board by ordinance. Another one is a town treasurer. That's found in Section 12110. The town treasurer maintains accounts, but may also perform other duties as determined by the town board, also by ordinance. Chief of police is another one, and there are other administrative departments, officers, or agencies as the board may establish. As you can see, that form of government has both administrative as well as legislative functions. The statutory town board form of government is primarily for smaller municipalities with populations under 1,000 residents. The second form of government available to cities is the Aldermanic form of government. It's also referred to as a weak mayor-council government. And those are governed by Title 11, Section 9101, and those following sections in that chapter. The city is governed by a council that is elected from the wards of the city. Aldermanic cities normally have between 4 and 6 wards. The mayor is elected citywide or at large and is the chief executive officer of the city. But the mayor in aldermanic form of government does not vote on council except if required to break a tie. Council members, usually 1 or 2 from each ward, act as the legislature, pass the laws and ordinances, adopt the budget, approve certain contracts, and appropriate revenues. A clerk, a marshal, and a street commissioner are also elected or appointed as decided by ordinance. Powers of the mayor are primarily administrative, and they include appoint all heads and employees of administrative departments, including members of boards and commissions. Often the city attorney is confirmed by council, even though appointed by the aldermanic mayor. The mayor also will sign the commissions and appointments of all officers, elected or appointed. The mayor would remove or suspend city officers or staff until the council takes action on charges. The mayor would supervise and control all administrative department, agencies, officers, and employees. Quite typically, the mayor will prepare an annual budget and submit it to the council, and the mayor also administers the budget. The mayor will advise the council of the finances and the needs of the city with an annual report of city activity. Also makes recommendations of measures that should be passed for the well-being of the city. The mayor is charged with enforcement of city ordinances, and the mayor can grant pardons for violation of city ordinances, but only subject to approval by the council. As you can see, in an aldermanic form of government, the mayor functions on most of the administrative levels and needs of the city, whereas the town council functions as the legislative body. Towns and aldermanic cities tend to be the lower population sizes with smaller staffs. They're usually modestly paid, and they rely on volunteers to accomplish civic responsibilities.